Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 2025 CoSA Annual Meeting Recap. I'm Catherine Giles. I am the State Records Branch Manager at the Kentucky Department for Libraries and Archives, and I am also the CoSA Vice President. If you were able to attend, I really enjoyed getting to see a lot of you who I've gotten to know and engage with at various CoSA events and programs, but this time in person, as well as getting to meet newcomers and early career people at the annual meeting. So next slide, please, Becky. Um, I am going to be sharing some highlights from the annual meeting, but I do want to invite any attendees to jump in with their experiences, especially if you did the church history library tour, whatever affinity group discussions you attended, whatever educational sessions you attended, please feel free to jump in and share. I also want to encourage anyone who couldn't attend to ask questions, maybe even offer suggestions of what you'd like to see at a future annual meeting. We definitely want to hear from you all, and we also have some polls kind of scattered through, so please make sure to respond to those. Right. Next, please. So before we get too far into it, I do want to thank the Utah State Archive staff for welcoming us so enthusiastically and warmly. I don't know how future hosts will be able to top Ken's personal video invitation, which is still, you can watch it on the CoSA YouTube, I think. It's really good. I also want to thank the planning committee who did such an excellent job in bringing all this together, volunteering in several roles to help make the meeting run smoothly. And yeah, Utah. And last but certainly not least, let's just take a moment to recognize Joy and Becky and Andy and Ann for everything they did and do to coordinate these events. Next, please. So I do want to take a moment to be serious right now. This is a very serious and formal tradition that we have where the outgoing president passes on the leopard cape of presidential power onto the incoming president. Our outgoing president, Kathy Popovich, passed the cape on to Alan Ramsey, the incoming president. The outgoing president also adds a pin. I think Kathy's pin was a Lincoln pin with removable sunglasses. Very funny. So yes, serious business that, but I'm glad we did it. Next, please. And so from the highest elevation point to the lowest, we had 33 states and territories represented at the annual meeting. Our attendee total was 136, which included our sponsors and vendor guests, and 60 first-time attendees. I think that's a little bit up from last year, so really exciting to see a lot of new folks who haven't attended the CoSA meetings before be able to be there this year. Next, please. So we have a poll coming up. If you can just go ahead and answer it. If you were unable to attend, what was the biggest barrier to attending? This helps us with planning. It's really, if you can answer, please feel free. And we'll give that a minute. So I don't see the poll, but I guess when it's finished, it'll, oh, well, there it is. Okay. So it looks like travel and logistics was probably the biggest barrier. Cost and schedule conflict were tied, and then others and staff coverage were on the other. So that's good to know. Probably if there was something not on there that was a barrier, if it's a barrier next year, you can always like maybe let us know and we can see if there's something we can work with you to reduce that. Next, please. Former Louisiana State Archivist and current First Assistant Secretary of State, Catherine Newsom, kicked off our conference, speaking of her non-traditional path into the archives field. One thing I think we could all take away from this is the importance to be present and involved where possible so that you can let people know what you're doing. While some of us may be limited in how directly we are permitted to speak to legislators and other officials, there may still be avenues to show the value in the records we collect as the stories that we want to share. And a lot of her speech kind of covered how we can make sure that our key stakeholders know the value of our records. So yeah, I think that would be the biggest takeaway. It was great to see her though. So it was a good opening and tone setter for our annual meeting. Next, please. And now I'm going to turn it over to Joy really quick.
Thanks, Catherine. If you've not been to one of our CoSA meetings at this point, then you've not experienced our vendor lightning talks. But this is where we give a chance for each of our tabling sponsors to give a brief introduction to who they are and why they are at CoSA. We found last year was the first year that we did this. We repeated it again this year, and it really seems to help lower the barrier for introducing yourself to them, welcoming them into the space a little bit better, and also just putting them on the spot. So often vendors in spaces at professional meetings use their tables as their own kind of level of protection between them and the activities of the meeting. And this is a space that they can get up front, carefully timed. They each only had 2 minutes that was strongly enforced. We had a bell. We were ringing them off the stage. And folks that were with us last year took that seriously and practiced and came prepared for this. And it's just kind of a fun way to break the ice a little bit to make sure that you understand that usually these are relationships that are being built over the long term. And yes, Jamie, I think the winner, if we gave winners to the vendor lightning talk, would have been Johnny's ode to CoSA, the poem, definitely AI generated, but certainly full of heart.
So good.
And we do want to thank again all of the vendors that supported this. We had 15 that were tabling with us, in addition to the support that we had from Preservica, Apex, Ancestry, and Family Search that each kind of contributed above and beyond their year-round roles that they have as sponsors with CoSA. We can flip through the pages here a little bit, and so you can see it really was a nice vendor space this year. I think that it was a really good way to interact. They were right in the middle of everything. They had the tables with the food in the middle of all of this. Right around the corner was the silent auction. So our vendor feedback was very positive with the interactions that you all had. And for any of you that were not able to come but would like to connect with any of these folks, please just let me know and I can make sure that you can get into contact with them with some of the materials that they distributed and the ideas that they shared. I don't know if anybody had a favorite swag item that may have been acquired from a vendor, but one of my favorites was Backstage had bookmarks that had encased microfiche in them. And I've been told that if you put them on a reader, that there are some archival jokes on some of the film. So just saying.
Okay, that's cute. I don't think I knew that about the jokes.
Yeah, and I know that Apex, they always bring bone folders too. So they were a hot item for everybody. And yes, the JSTOR bags were really very nice.
Such sturdy bags.
Okay, Catherine,
Um,
back to you.
Yep. So we did this last year, and we continued it this year, which is a great part of the annual meeting. The affinity group sessions provided a more informal opportunity for us to discuss a variety of topics with our colleagues of varying levels of expertise so that we could ask questions, consider solutions, and share our experiences. These topics included emergency disaster preparedness, America 250, advocacy, SHRABs, electronic records management and preservation, email management and transfer, AI. I mean, there was a ton. So I'm not going to list them all, but there was a lot of opportunities to get together in small groups. Um, Although these were scheduled as two separate sessions to give everyone a chance to like visit other topics, I can say that with the records and information management group, affinity group, that group stayed through both sessions. No one left because we were so invested in our discussion of our different state practices, sometimes even the different phases of a state-directed records management program. It was very interesting, and I don't have a really good poker face. So there were times when we were discussing where I was just like, that's how you do it. So we have a poll coming up about the affinity group discussions, but I do want to open it up to anyone who wants to type it in chat or raise your hand or unmute and share your affinity group experience, especially if it was not with records management, because that's the one I did.
Yeah, Catherine, I was in the same space as you all, and despite your lively conversation, we were able to maintain focus and discuss reference as our topic of interest. And it was also a very engaging conversation. It was very interesting to hear different repositories and how they approach it, and in particular, how they staff it. So uh, we kind of broke up and went our separate ways. I was happy to join um, John Dugan and I think there was one other person that joined us for genealogy, but it was a more intimate conversation than we had in the reference, but still just as valuable.
And in the chat, Derek says, affinity groups are consistently my favorite part. If anything, more opportunities for this next year. Yeah, I don't disagree. So yeah, most people, 67% of attendees participated in the affinity group discussion. Some wanted to but couldn't. Okay, so yeah, an affinity group, it's just, again, it's just like a topic. So let's say the topic is America 250, a group of people will come together and just talk about America 250, what they're doing, if they have questions about it, if they have concerns that they want to kind of bring to a larger group of people. It's a table talk. It's just a topic focused discussion, and where I think maybe we don't get to have a lot of those spaces at other conferences. CoSA having the affinity group sessions like really allows us to do that. Amy from Louisiana led a great discussion on disaster prep and response. I really appreciated the opportunity to discuss and learn from everyone. Yeah, agreed, Jamie. I mean, you just get a lot of people who either are really able to inform others how they've done something, or people who are just beginning and want to just sit and listen to other people talk about the topic. And I think that's what makes these affinity groups beneficial, especially when you're mixing it in with like more formal presentations. All right, next, please.
Before you move on, Catherine, I would add to that conversation that I think having them at the beginning of the conference is especially useful. It gives an opportunity to have those conversations and make connections where later you're sitting in a more formal setting, you see people you recognize and can talk with them before and after those presentations. So I think the timing of them is particularly well suited.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. I think especially if you are maybe a first-time attendee or a more of an introverted person, they are a really good opportunity to kind of at least you don't have to try to make small talk, but this is the topic. That's what you have to talk about. So Okay, so our opening reception was sponsored by Apex and the Utah State Archives and was held at the Utah State Archives. While this was a great time to mingle and try the dirty soda bar from Swig, which was very interesting, we also had a chance to tour the facility and see the automatic storage and retrieval system robot that pulls pallets down in their archives. So maybe you, like me, were also really excited about getting to make your own CoSA annual meeting commemorative button, which I have on my wall. And although it wasn't an official annual meeting event, many of us also went to see the Tabernacle Choir's rehearsal afterward. And if you're ever in Utah, I would recommend it. It was very lovely. And I guess free every Thursday, maybe, since it was rehearsal, but yeah, the opening reception was really nice. Uh, yeah, right, Bethany? I mean, the robot is really interesting. I think you hear about the robots, but getting to see it, this is why we need annual meetings with CoSA, because when you talk about this with other people, no one is as interested in the robot. But you people, my people, are interested in this robot. It was very interesting to watch it do its stuff. So yeah, that was a really nice opening reception. Again, another great welcome from the Utah State Archives. A really good time over there. Next, please. And so with the awards ceremony, which was sponsored by Family Search. The award ceremony is always a great way to recognize our peers and their work. I'm just going to go over really quickly our recipients and briefly what they were recognized for. Next, please. So the Rising Star Award acknowledges outstanding contributions by staff. And we have, oh, Bethany, I'm so sorry, Bethany Arbaugh, the documents archivist at the West Virginia State Archives. She developed an updated in-depth collection processing manual and procedures that have improved the workflow of collections processing, maintained the archive's accession records, and overseen the processing of collections. Matthew Miller, the photograph archivist at the West Virginia State Archives, demonstrated his passion for the preservation of the state's historical materials through developing detailed finding aids, digitizing photographs to ensure long-term preservation and make them more accessible to the public, and assisting with updates to collection guidelines and handling procedures. And then Elizabeth O'Connell, the digital archivist at the Massachusetts Archives, she shares her knowledge on digital records with the local community of municipal and state employees. She and the assistant digital archives under her leadership have revamped the archive's digital repository, highlighting collections in a more user-friendly manner to enhance discoverability. And then next, we have the Schrab Award of Merit, which recognizes outstanding single or multi-year projects or programs developed by a state historical records advisory board. Next slide, please, Becky. The South Carolina Schrab was awarded in 2024 $88,000 from the NHPRC to re-grant to 9 local governments, historical records repositories, and professional organizations statewide. Of the projects awarded, several represent smaller repositories with holdings of no more than 500 cubic feet, as well as the collections of smaller towns with populations of less than 5,000 individuals. And then the Utah Schrab was also a recipient. In the 2024-2025 program year, USHRAB did a comprehensive overhaul of its Utah Archives Month program and made key structural changes that serve the needs of organizations in Utah and transformed the Utah Archives Month into a program that helps Utah's cultural heritage organization perform outreach in their communities and make meaningful connections with their history through historical records. Next, please. We also award travel stipends. These travel stipends from CoSA provide support for the CoSA community to attend the CoSA annual meeting. We really encourage anyone to take advantage of these stipends because it just increases our ability to connect with each other. It's money that's intended for you to use in order to come to these meetings. So next year, please make sure to, apply if you are wanting to attend. Next, please. And then another privilege, in addition to being able to add a pin to the cape. Another privilege of being the CoSA president is that you get to recognize individuals or teams who have made outstanding contributions to CoSA's mission through their board or programmatic work. This year, outgoing President Kathy recognized the Utah State Archives for their work as our meeting host, Karen Gray and Steve Murray for their CoSA board service, the annual meeting planning committee for their amazing efforts this year, and Jen Miller for her dedicated work on leading the development of a SHRAB manual. Next, please. And then Steve Murray, the director of the Alabama Department of Archives and History, was presented with the Victoria Irons Walsh Leadership Award, which recognizes the sustained leadership and outstanding contributions of an individual or institution to the development of state and territorial archives or to CoSA. Steve has served CoSA in a variety of capacities, most recently in the role of Treasurer Secretary, in which he helped guide CoSA through a complex modernization of its accounting practices. And the Lifetime Achievement Award is peer-nominated by the CoSA Awards Committee and presented to recognize an individual who has performed dedicated service to CoSA and, in doing so, elevated the work and the voice of state and territorial archives. Sarah Kuntz, who served as North Carolina State Archivist from 2012 to 2025, received this award. She has also served CoSA in many critical leadership capacities, including as series founding co-chair and longtime advisory board member, a long-standing member of the advocacy committee, CoSA representative to the joint working group, and CoSA board vice president and president. Next, please. And so we did have a few award recipients who were not in attendance. Sarah Garrett, Electronic Records Analyst at the Kentucky Department for Libraries and Archives, was recognized with the Rising Star Award for her efforts to pioneer KDLA's recorded video trainings, which include a now mandatory electronic records management training that all Kentucky state employees in the executive branch are required to take. As the National Archives and Records Administration External Affairs Liaison, Meg Phillips has been an active participant in a variety of archival professional societies, including CoSA, and has been an effective builder of community for the entire profession. She championed the importance of government archives and records management, and as such was recognized with the Advocacy for Archives Award. Darby Nisbet Sheeney, sorry, Darby, Deputy Director and Search Room Coordinator at the Maryland State Archives, was recognized with the Victoria Irons Walsh Emerging Leader Award. Her outreach efforts greatly improved the archive's in-person and virtual outreach, as well as improved how the agency mentors a new generation of archivists. And then last but not least, Helen Wong-Smith and Ira Tansey were recognized with the President's Award for their work on the CoSA Aware project. The Archives Working Across Remote Environments, AWARE, project investigated the needs of territorial and non-contiguous state archives. Helen and Ira were able to conduct site visits to Puerto Rico, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, American Samoa, Alaska, U.S. Virgin Islands, and Washington, D.C. So congratulations to everybody. Again, I think these awards just really demonstrate a lot of the hard work everybody does across the states. And I think it's really nice that we get a chance to have these people in our membership organizations, our membership institutions, to learn from and to develop with. Next, please.
And start thinking now about
Yes.
the award cycle for 2026.
Absolutely.
We're not anticipating the process to change a whole lot. So you can check out our website and see if you have somebody in mind.
For sure. So there were several chances to network, which is definitely one of the reasons that the CoSA annual meeting is so great to attend. I can't say enough how great it is to talk to people who know what I do. They do something similar, they have similar challenges, they can share the neat things they're doing that I'm going to try to copy. Our networking lunch, which was sponsored by Ancestry, everybody was organized by a national monument or park. So you were directed to a table. Mine was the Dinosaur National Monument. So you got to sit with different people, including the vendors. So the vendors were mixed in there too. Our meeting setup was also really nice because it was easy to chat between sessions in the space outside of the meeting rooms. So you weren't necessarily trying to go from one floor to another. It was just all in one area. Again, I realize this is becoming like a promo for the next CoSA meeting, but it's so nice to be able to talk to people who are excited to talk about records and archives. All right, we do have a poll coming up. Did you have enough networking opportunities? Are there any that I didn't talk about that you want to bring up?
Yeah, while people are doing that poll, so one of the points of feedback that we had in the surveys that we conducted were some more formal networking prompts. So things like coming up with a meeting bingo or um, better questions. I don't know. We had a few questions on the table, but more structure to that or something like that. So I'd love to hear if y'all like that kind of thing. I tend not to participate in conference bingos, so perhaps that's why COSA's not had them yet. But I'm sure if we find the right group of people, we could probably put together something fun.
I think he's in the meeting, but Josh Hager does good trivia. So
Yes, that was one of the more elaborate suggestions for the bingo was collecting information uh like the elevation of the capitals or, state birds or something like that, and then trying to find people who know these things. That sounds like a hard bingo to me, but anything's possible at this point.
absolutely. Okay, Josh, trivia's on the table. Okay, great. But overall, I mean, just based on the response here, there was plenty of networking opportunities. So sounds good. Next slide, please. So I wish there was a map in the program so I could get people to color in their states as I met them. I love that actually.
That is a
Mary,
fantastic idea and something that we can for sure take care of for
yeah,
next year.
maybe you should volunteer for the planning committee, Mary. With our educational sessions, we had a great variety of topics. I was able to attend Learning from Experience with Monica Gray, and it was really encouraging to hear stories from the audience of how they've connected with colleagues, even through challenges, or just like maybe some internal organizational or external organizational conflict. So that was really, really encouraging, really nice to listen to. And I know that my KDLA colleagues and I spent a good amount of time discussing the local records grant program session because we also have a local records program grant. So it was definitely coming away from that, we had some good talks about what we heard, what we're currently doing, and that sort of thing. Since I only attended those two, I definitely want to. We have a poll coming up, but I do want to go ahead and invite others to share their educational session experience. If there was one in particular you really want to talk about, or maybe something else you'd like to see, we can go ahead and go to the poll, Becky, and then if anyone wants to comment or unmute and discuss their experience with the educational sessions. Program.
If Derek won't do it himself, I'll go ahead and plug the session that he presented on a grant experience that we had here in Kentucky. He summarized it very well, but in particular, the conversation that it resulted in at the end, huge has proven hugely productive for ourselves and in ways we can go about addressing some of the unforeseen conclusions of that grant. So, well done, Derek, and thanks to everyone who participated in that particular session.
Did anyone else I mean, surely some other people here attended the educational sessions. Did anyone else come away with anything or take back anything that they heard about? I was really interested in, I think there was an outreach one that I really wanted to attend but missed. So hopefully, hopefully they do a CoSA webinar so that I can attend it. So it looks like 45 minutes is the ideal education session length for most people. That's good. Yeah. Ooh, I'm glad no one said 90 minutes because that is not my ideal session length.
I feel like that would be a special type of session. Like
Yeah,
you would definitely have to incorporate activities and some learning and breakout and things like that.
absolutely. Yeah.
I love your point though, Rusty, about using these presentations to your own advantage. I mean, you maybe didn't know that at the beginning, but it's true. If you have a question and would like to submit a presentation idea, spend 15 or 20 minutes on your presentation and presenting the problem and the question, and then facilitate conversations and get answers to the questions that you have. That's I don't know if we had that kind of as a prompt, as a type of session that you could propose, but I mean, this is CoSA's conference, so y'all keep saying you want more affinity group and discussion things, and that's a sneaky way to get more discussions onto the agenda.
Yeah,
I
and
think another
obviously
thing,
from our perspective, it was helpful to us, but to address a current situation, but hopefully it proved helpful to others to anticipate s- like like situations of their own and avoid getting into them in the first place. So
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, because I think sometimes you might feel like the situation is very specific to you, and maybe there's no one else who has that kind of experience, but clearly that's not necessarily the case. We were able to get some wise words that were relatable to what we have going on. Well, all right. I'll turn it over to Joyanne for the closing reception. Oh wait, no, that's still me. Sorry. So our closing reception, which was hosted by Family Search, it took place in the Family Search Research Library. We got to have the facility to ourselves we were there a little bit before close, and then we got to have it to ourselves after close for a little bit, and we're given a chance to tour, and also create a personalized generational fan chart, which I didn't do this, but I saw others, and they look so cool. They're also very big. So I guess you can also do it from home, it seems like. I have no idea. You can also create your own oh heck, heraldry thing, which is not official in any way, but was very fun to do. So it was really neat. If you've never been to the Family Search Research Library, it was a really interesting experience and a good time as our closing reception. Um, okay, you can create the fan chart at home, but in person, they will print it for free for you. Love that.
And
Love a
Rusty
free
is
print.
showing the.
Oh,
You should say something, Rusty, so we can capture that on camera.
yeah.
yeah, this was my like you said, family seal. Again, they actually go into the detail of what the symbols mean and colors. I don't recall that, so unfortunately I can't tell you what this is, but it looks neat.
It looks neat, and you should make a signet ring. But it was a good way to kind of wind down the conference since we were in their home base anyway. So it was very nice. And yes, you're right. They do have locations all over the country. Yes, thank you, Valerie. So you could presumably go to other locations and get that printed as well. Now I will turn it over to Joy to discuss the closing plenary.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. Um, after our closing reception has become our methodology in the way we meet, we kicked the vendors out and had about half a day of programming that was reserved specifically for CoSA and members to just kind of dive even deeper into the things that matter most to you. So for this year, we assembled a panel of your peers and called it Stories from the Archives. Kathy Popovich, who's then at that point, the past president, served as the moderator for the panel. And we gathered four different speakers who kind of talked about different ways that you could use your relationships, your collections, your users to draw out stories and kind of serve an advocacy role for your organization. So Becky McGee Langford, the interim state archivist of North Carolina, Brian Keogh, the state archivist and executive director of New York, Lopez Matthews Jr., who's the state archivist and public records administrator of the District of Columbia, and then Jamie Awalt, the assistant state archivist of Tennessee, kind of took different elements. Becky talked more about the kind of the relationships that you're building. Jamie discussed working with external PR relationships and how you navigate those spaces, but can kind of leverage that into really phenomenal programming. She talked about the dynamic work that they did with a governor's special exhibit and inviting kids to write letters to the governor, which proved to be extremely popular. Lopez talked a little bit about some of the struggles they have in DC, but also highlighting researchers coming in and how they can leverage that into advocacy for the collections. And Brian introduced us to the mascot that they have in New York, which I thought was amazing and I shouldn't be surprised to find out that other states are actually in planning phases for development of their own mascot. But he also talked about how they managed to take their award-winning magazine that they had from the Archives Trust and translate it to a children's version of it, and the relationship that they've navigated with that K-12 group. I hope it was inspiring. I sometimes just giving you all microphones to like brag about the cool things that you do can leave folks with ideas and exciting things to go. So I feel like Brian should have brought more of Archie's. He had a small, it's a beaver, right? I think that's the animal that it was. Whatever the state animal of New York is what Archie is. And it's adorable. And apparently one of the other duties as assigned is having somebody dress up as Archie. So I feel like there's potential there for so many things. Next slide. With that, at the conclusion of the closing plenary, we did our now traditional passing of the pineapple to make an announcement of our location for 2026. Ken Williams, State Archivist of Utah, went above and beyond with choreographed music, an announcement, and a costume and a script to pass the pineapple to Pat, who was there representing South Carolina, and Becky of North Carolina. We will be located in Columbia, South Carolina, but this will be a joint hosted meeting because it does require a lot to put these together. And we're very glad to have both Carolinas welcoming us to the South and coming into their space. So, you know, if it's Eric and Becky or the new North Carolina State Archivists who are planning for next year, we expect big things in terms of the choreography of the passing of the pineapple. And y'all will have to figure out joint custody of said pineapple. Ken had it living on his shelf for most of the time, but maybe you can pass it back and forth a couple times and tell us of its travels. So Okay, Catherine.
Thank you. Yeah, and I mean, since it's a joint host, you have joint opportunities to make a great invitation video. So just food for thought. North Carolina already does great Electronic Records Day videos, so this should be cake. So our silent auction raised over $1,400. That's that's amazing. These funds support CoSA's educational programming, so thank you to the donors and the bidders. Even the vendors donated items. We had a good variety of items that were out there, so it's always fun to see what people will bring to entice you. No photo of, okay, so I did bid and win my giant computer screen that I know people doubted I would be able to take with me back to Kentucky, but I did it in the very sturdy JSTOR bag. It was my carry-on, yes. Next slide, please. And so we managed to get a photo with all of the state archivists and directors present. Two photos, actually. We had a lot of great stair options. The first one is at the Utah State Archives, and the second one is actually at the hotel. So yeah, I think these are so nice. I mean, how often do they get to gather in one place and just be there together? I love it. Next slide, please. We have our 2025 and 2026 Board of Directors. Great people, great team. Couldn't ask for better. They're so good. Next slide, please. And then our current and past board presidents. I really like this photo. I think it turned out really nice. And again, very nice that we had all of these folks together to get that photo of them. All right, and then next up, we have another poll coming up. Which part of the annual meeting was most valuable to you? And again, we have time to open it up. If anyone wants to type in chat or raise your hand to be unmuted to kind of talk about your experience at the meeting or something you'd like to see at the next meeting. Especially food. Should we be encouraging South Carolina and North Carolina to provide a particular cuisine? Are they known for anything? Shrimp and grits. Okay.
I love that teams are already talking about their food requests. I was going to say barbecue. Yeah.
I'm happy to be a surveyor of this war if I get to eat both.
I mean, the luxury that we'll have so South Carolina Archives is serving as our location host. And so our meeting space will be at the archives, kind of like when we were in Tennessee in 2022. So it opens the doors wide for food choices and reception options. And I think that it's going to be a good group. I think Hush Puppies. Yes. It's hard to find a good hush puppy outside of the South.
I didn't know they made them outside of the South, honestly.
They try.
And it looks like affinity groups was the most valuable for a lot of people, followed by the educational sessions. So that's really good to hear. Um, And then social events and vendor talks were kind of even. So that's really good. Um, yeah, I think those affinity group sessions are really just really beneficial and really good. Um, the Utah CoSA meeting was really energizing, and it was so good to network and then come back refreshed for our American Samoa October Archives Month celebration. Thanks, CoSA. Thanks, James. Yeah.
And
All right.
James had three people with, like, there were three people from
Whoa.
American Samoa, which was awesome. We were so glad to have your team there.
Yeah, we hope you can make it too, especially if there's going to be a food war. I will go ahead and we can go ahead and go to the next slide and talk about our upcoming programming. The State Archivist Monthly Call is going to be on November 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern. We have a shop talk with Family Search on November 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern, and then a shop talk with Apex 2 p.m. on December 18th. So a lot of good upcoming events. Hope to see you all there at those. Yeah, and Joy has dropped in the chat a link if you're interested in planning the next meeting. Please click on that link. Let us know your interest. And I mean, we'll see how great 2026 is going to be. It's going to be America 250. It's going to be dual hosted. There's going to be a lot going on. So, well, all right. Joy or Becky, we have about 10 minutes. Is there anything else?
I don't think so. If you all think about other ideas as time goes by, we've sent out our surveys, but especially as you attend other meetings, if there's a model that you really like and there's some way that we might be able to think about it, let us know. The board is starting the process of kind of building our budget and thinking through all of that. Um, and I think that there's a lot of opportunity to keep improving on the CoSA annual meeting. We had a lot of different specific topics that folks are interested in hearing about. So the challenge back to all of you is that you are the experts in all of these areas. And certainly if there's an idea that you have or something that you want to hear about, help us help you, and we can kind of get it on the agenda to set it up. So I think that's kind of it. I am this pulling all of this together is a lot of work, but truly one of the things with the biggest return on investment in terms of value for all of you. So, oh, great question, James, about travel stipends or any of you who are seeking reimbursement because of your member benefit. If you've not received an email from Andy Denham, our new administrative coordinator, he is facilitating that whole process. The form and the travel reimbursement policy are all posted online. So just get the form filled out and have your receipts. And if you don't know how to reach Andy, you can also just reach out to the info at statearchivist.org and we'll get you taken care of.
Awesome. So I want to give another opportunity for anyone to talk about their experience at the annual meeting, whether it's about an educational session, an affinity group, one of the networking sessions or receptions or anything else. And hopefully you all are also thinking about like maybe there's something next year you can present as an educational session. And just share with your colleagues who will get you. We understand you. Well, okay. Not seeing any hands raised or anything. I think we can probably, yes, 2026 will be phenomenal. Um, we can probably go ahead and wind it down here and hopefully see you all soon.